Hello, my name is Joseph Carlson, and this is episode 216 of Gaming with Grief, and I'm calling this episode The Grief of Being a Game Dev. But I want to remind everybody that this podcast will hit my website, www.gamingwithgrief.com, Monday morning at 7 a.m. Please go to those places and interact with me there. You can also find the video of this podcast at 7 a.m. on YouTube as well. Leave me the likes, the subscribe, the comments. You can subscribe to the podcast if you want to do it that way on either Apple iTunes, the Google Play Store, or Spotify. And the video for the episode will go up Spotify on Monday evening. So go to those places, interact with me there, write me a letter if you want to write to me. You can write to me at gwgpodfellows@gmail.com. That would be great. I would greatly appreciate it. This episode may be a bit of a rant. I did some research. I'm still working on a bigger game for review, trying to formulate my opinions, do better. And I've been thinking about this a lot because, I am, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm a concerned gamer, and I just, what's going on, y'all? I took notes for this and researched this, and I felt like a crazy person taking crazy pills on a crazy train. For the life of me, I understand that businesses want to make money, and that that's the point of these businesses, and we all have the companies have a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders. I get all that, but what is insane to me is if the graph does not go up, then people just lose their jobs. Episode 213, I talked about the Embracer Group and how they did not get funding of $1 billion. Now, that's not something to sneeze at. I understand when you lose out on $1 billion or $2 billion worth of funding that you just have to start saying, well, we got to start cutting some corners. But you start to think, and this has been brought up by a lot of smaller podcasters that I listen to, you try to grow your podcast based on, your audience. Maybe you grow your company on what you need, not what you want. And it just seems like Embracer Group is in the business of acquisitions. They are not in the business to really make games, I don't think. Even though they have purchased game companies, there's a lot of companies that they purchased. Again, you can listen to 213 because I break it down. I read from their website. I break down, the layoffs and how it'll affect and how many companies and internal studios. So please go there and support that episode on YouTube or, podcast services. But I've just been reading about this and hearing about it more and more. At the end of the month, June 30th, it was announced that Niantic, the people that make Pokemon Go, are going to lay off 230 developers. They're closing their LA studio. And that boggles my mind. Now, here's the deal. Pokemon Go has been steadily declining in sales, but it is in the $450 million thing as of last year. Now, it was at a high of like 500 million or 550 million, I think, in February of last year or this year. The point is, I understand as a massive corporation, you're looking at your bottom line and trying to do the best you can, but these are people that will no longer have a job, that will, no longer be able to, for the time being, support their families. And something that was brought up to me, one of the companies that I work for went bankrupt. And this is something I thought about. Somebody brought up to me. It was a big company. And so I said, well, what's going to happen? I talked to some people that did some work with some vendors. And I said, well, what's going to happen? What about the scale of our company? And the vendor brought up, well, not a lot of people can do this to this scale. And what we started talking about was this idea of like the spider web effect of what this does. So that's 230 people that will not be going into the LA office, that will no longer be spending money in the LA area. They're no longer going to be, supporting local communities and local businesses because they're going to be moving away. Now, some of them may be absorbed in the company. I don't think that's been reported yet. But just think about that. At our company, there was like 150 people. Those people commute in. What if those people stop commuting in and they just don't ever spend money again? to go to these places, and it's sad. So that's 230 people that won't be contributing to the community. What's going to happen to the businesses around that? This has also been talked about with E3. There was a big convention that probably, I would imagine, they hired thousands of people for that event over a week, 2 weeks. And there's prep time. I worked for AV for a while, and you would go in the middle of the night, deliver this gear. Different vendors would set things up, but it was a mad cat dash. I believe the people that I used to work for went out of business. And now E3, what are all those people going to do now? It seems like there's still another event called the Summer Game Fest. It's coming up, but I don't think it's to the scale of E3. So what happens to all those knock-on businesses? What happens to all those audiovisual people that no longer have a job? How will they supplement their income or whatever? This kind of stuff is just it. Again, I understand people have to make money, that they have to, that they have a responsibility to make money. But, it's much easier if you're looking at a spreadsheet and you have a company of 12 people, and those 12 people are like, hey, we're kind of slow. So we're just not going to push out as much content. These are kind of the areas we're looking at with our content. We think these 4 shows that we do or blogs that we write or whatever are the things that make the most amount of money for us. We can't keep doing, these 3 other shows. It's just not in the budget, we don't get the views. We don't get the sponsorship deals. We don't get whatever. Let's grow as we can. But with Niantic, when you look at a spreadsheet and see 230 people, all those people are probably immediately disposable. It's probably some HR company that's a long ways away, a management company I'm not saying they're unfeeling, uncaring, but it's a lot easier to to shutter a whole studio, and they've canceled some games and they're doubling down on Pokemon Go now. They had an NBA game that they were working on, and they had a Marvel game they were working on. They're no longer working on that. It was revealed. Now, this is going to be a rant and a tangent. The FTC is hearing arguments on whether Activision and Blizzard can merge. It was a $69 billion acquisition. I think it happened in February of 2021, because we're over a year. Anyway, the trial has ended, so they're not hearing arguments. They've heard arguments. The judge will decide whether Microsoft can merge with Activision Blizzard if it doesn't break some monopoly or something like that. And it was revealed in that, through some poor redacting, that the game Last of Us 2 that came out on June 19, 2020, cost $200 million to create, with a staff of a few hundred. That is a movie. Now imagine just that going away. The video gaming is a big business, and to me it is just sad. It's just really sad when these people that pour your life and blood into it. Years ago, I was at PAX, and my wife and I listened to a panel from someone who was, they were game devs. And this was many years ago, so I don't remember what company they were with. But I remember my wife and I walking out of it going, they just seem so negative. They were just so negative with everything when it happened in game, it had to do with game dev. And it seems like that makes sense now. Why would you want to pour your life and blood into a company or, just something you're very passionate about, to think like, well, it could all go away. It could all go away, and, the graph didn't go up enough, so, I'm going to lose my job. Again, looking at a graph and seeing a steadily decline for revenue for Pokemon Go, I completely understand why the company is like, hey, we're not making what we used to. Did they need to shutter their LA studio? I mean, maybe that studio was making the NBA game and the Marvel game that they were working on, and since they are, canceling those projects, they're no longer going to be needing that staff. But this is just I did the Embracer. What else? There's so many layoffs. Lord of the Rings Gollum that came out by Daedalic, that whole studio Daedalic is no longer publishing or no longer developing games. They had a big thing with publishing, and they're going to stick to that. Now here's the deal with Gollum. Reviewed very poorly, but I don't think, there's going to be some redundancies. They're going to have to lay people off, but I don't think a whole studio shuttering hinged, but it's a license. That's another thing. The Embracer Group, who I talked about again in episode 213, they purchased the Lord of the Rings license for games, and they use the word exploit in their statement of, we need to exploit Lord of the Rings. Now, Embracer, I believe I reported in 213, I think is like Swedish or European, so there could have been a translation error or something, but the weird part of me, I understand why you say, I got to exploit this. We spent X amount of dollars to do this. We gotta do it, But do you really want to exploit something, or do you just want to make a good game? It's, what's that thing of like, how can you love something if it doesn't love you back? Can you support like an industry that just treats people as like disposable cogs? I don't know. Like, I love games, and they're very fun. And even when I don't like a game, I like critically thinking about the game. Like the game I'm playing now, I'm not saying I don't like it, but I'm critically thinking about it and enjoying the experience of reading think pieces, not reviews, but like, here's, where my thesis goes. Here's where I kind of am formulating my thoughts. What can I do? And what I find is that it's so enjoyable. And to think that, is anybody safe? If that company released a bad game, would they be able to continue developing games? Probably not. And that's sad. Again, this episode is mainly a rant, but it's getting more and more depressing to listen to gaming news like I do. And I don't really cover gaming news, but to really invest my time and energy playing these games and thinking about them, and thinking about the people behind them can just be thrown away at a moment's notice because graph does not go up like it should, or the graph didn't move in the way we wanted, or the graph's going down. Maybe we should look at what we're doing as management, and maybe we shouldn't make an NBA game because maybe we shouldn't make a Marvel game. Maybe we shouldn't make games that require us to purchase licenses. It's so frustrating. Yeah. Yeah. I can't, I don't know anymore. I think it's what it is it's, I like I said, this has been heavy on my mind for a few weeks, and what I think it is it's the disillusionment of art in a way. Art and business are combined. They have to be. It's very difficult for an artist to give away their art for free. You got to make money. You got to pay the bills. And I think it is like the devil's handshake of, okay, we really believe in this art. We want it to go somewhere. We want to do something with it. What do we do? Well, we have to go to somebody so they can give us money to develop this. We need more resources. Okay, well, if we shake their hand, they're going to expect a lot from us, which I understand how the system works. But at the same time of them going to artists and saying, you got to ship it, is rough. Maybe for some artists it's good because it gives you a deadline and, you got to finish what you started and things like that. But just, it's the worst now. It's depressing, again, to read all this stuff and see that it's just not, it doesn't seem sustainable. It seems like that's what it is. It's the disillusionment of the art of it, that you realize that it is a business. And I guess it took me a long time to realize that, but it is very sad that it took me that long to realize it, but I guess I did. So, I don't know. I guess this episode's kind of a downer. I apologize, but I just had to get this off my chest because I keep opening game news and reading about more and more people losing their jobs, doing something that they love, and it bothers me. So with that up note, I guess, please follow the podcast. Subscribe if you can. Again, it hits Monday morning at 7 a.m. If you want to write to me, go to gwgpodfellows@gmail.com, or just go to the website, Gaming with Grief, and leave a comment. I'm also on YouTube, 7 a.m. Monday morning, and the podcast will has hit Spotify Monday evening, randomly in the evening when it gets done processing, but it will hit Monday evening. So maybe check Tuesday morning. So I think with that, try to have a good week, and I will talk to you guys again next week.